After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Course After Hours podcast, we define the Grand Line by discussing the band from Tampa, Florida, known as Underoath. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta. Army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Course After Hours podcast, where each and every episode I, Curtis, sit down with my good friend and avid listener of the History of the Course podcast, Erik. How's it going, Erik?
Pretty good. It's releasing season, so we got a lot of new albums, singles, all that good stuff. I'm excited right now.
Yeah, you had me for a moment there with the releasing season. Like I was thinking seasons like fall, summer, winter, and I'm like, releasing season. Are you like
Yes.
a butterfly aficionado? And like, yes, we're releasing the butterflies this time of year.
All of them.
I was like, what is happening? Yes, that's right. It is CD release time, man. Okay, so what's a couple of albums that are coming out that are piquing your interest right now?
Two that have just dropped. I mean, maybe last week actually, were The Ghost Inside, brand new one.
Yep.
I finally listened to that one today. Not bad. Going a little more electronic, but 'tis the way of the
Okay.
core at the moment.
True.
And then Era, dropped a
Okay.
new
Yeah.
one too.
Okay.
And
Nice.
again, kind of a little more on the electronic side than what they were, but I will say, interestingly, if I wasn't looking at, my phone or whatever I'm listening to it on, Ghost Inside's new album has parts that would almost be indistinguishable from like Wage War or
Mhm.
another band like that. Like very similar overall, getting to be a little bit more of that, not quite arena core kind of feel,
Well,
but
you just kind of,
you know,
I mean, you said like the new age of metalcore, kind of,
the mainstream metalcore, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'd be a good way to put it. Nice.
Yeah.
Have you listened to both those? You've listened to both of them, right?
Yep. Both those are
What
actually pretty
about
good so far.
So what about, okay, because yeah, you just mentioned Ghost Inside. What about Era?
Yeah, that one's good too. It's a little bit more electronic too, but
Okay, gotcha.
tis the way.
Nice.
It's
Well,
not
hey,
as
we're
much. I
gonna
think I swung harder for that, but
yeah, we're gonna talk a little band. It's got some electronics to it, but they started out that well. They didn't really start out all the way, but at the very beginning, they did have an electronic sound to them. Ooh, so yeah, I know you've been waiting for this one, Erik. This band is well, we
so
got a great
reckoning.
line from you. It's a grand line, by the way. And I know we've been waiting for this one, man. So, Erik, let us finally define the grand line here. That's right. We're going to be talking about the band known as Underoath. As always, Erik, I like to start off an episode with two basic questions. How were you introduced to the band known as Underoath?
I'd have to say somewhere around '05 to '06, either right before or right after to find the Great Line released.
Slows it down. Think about
Yes,
it.
yes. It's not the Grand Ole Opry, nothing like that.
You're right.
But anyway, somewhere right around that time. I can't remember if I was on the wagon before it released, day of release, right after. I don't really remember, but
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
that was many
So
moons ago.
so it probably would have been Chasing Safety would be the first one you probably heard, or are you saying you think Define would have been the first one?
Define's probably the big one I can remember for sure. I might have
Okay.
heard little bits and pieces here and there before
From
that, but
Chasing. Okay.
as far as like the whole album, I think for sure Define's the
Okay.
big one for me.
So obviously, we talk about Underoath a lot. You and I are both fans of that middle section. Have you listened to the newer stuff, the two newest albums?
Unfortunately,
Okay. Yeah, I best say don't give me your opinion yet. Well, we're gonna get there.
not too much of it.
Have you listened to all the discography with Dallas Taylor in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. So you have a
Well,
grasp.
as much of it as I could find, anyway.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. So you have a grasp on what Underoath is sound wise, lyrically, so on and so forth throughout their whole discography. So, brand new listener comes up to you, says, "Hey, Eric, I want to listen to Underoath for the first time. What am I getting myself into overall?" Obviously, I mean, you could be like, "Well, what am I getting myself into at this point or that point?" Overall, what can this person expect to hear?
Taking everything into account, more or less, I guess the heavier end of post-hardcore
Mhm.
sound-wise. Got some Christian themes. They kind of tend to fall off over time a little bit more, but
Yeah.
just a little bit. But overall, that's kind of very broad strokes. But
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. That's what I want. Because like I said, we'll get to talk more about each era. We're going to more or less break down this episode by era, so we'll be
oh,
able
Era,
to talk
let's
more
talk
then.
about Era. That's a
Let
cool new
us talk
album.
about the
Oh,
not the band,
okay.
not the band now.
Aw, too many
That day
R's. Too
that
many
day will
R's.
come, buddy. That day will come. Okay, so
Yes.
let's before we get into the three different eras of Under Oath, let's quickly talk, Eric, about some of the individual impacts from some of the band members that have come through. Uh, First off, let's talk about Chris Dudley's keys. I profess my love for his synth work on the original episodes. The only time that he's not shown up on a Under Oath album is the very first one, which is with Dallas Taylor and such. And listening to that, it was like, man, this just it feels kind of empty and hollow, knowing that this is Under Oath. Um, and I think that just kind of lends to how much impact he has had, especially as time progressed. You get to chasing safety and define the great line and such, and his synth work, his ambient soundscapes and everything just like really took over the background and really filled in everything. But how do you think about Chris Dudley's work with Under Oath?
He definitely helped define the sound that we all recognize as Under Earth today. Between the keys, the subtle textures, uh, soundscapes, like you were calling them there, sometimes can be easily overlooked or just thought, well, that's a weird lick on a guitar or
Right.
something like that. Other times, like you said with that first album, it's like this is kind of hollow. So without them, I don't think this sound would be anything like. I don't think they would have took off like they did. Really,
Right. The guitar work on specifically Timothy McTague's guitar work. It's
Timothy.
Timothy. He comes in on Changing of the Times all the way to the present. It's just insane, like the riffs that he's got in his bag, and he just keeps continuing, to bring it out. What do you think about his work on the guitar?
Well, Under Oath is not 100% like driven by the guitar. That's not
Correct.
the main thing
Yeah. Right.
100%. But any kind of rock or metal or anything in that category or anything near that category, really, guitar is a heavy, big part of stuff. And he's
Right.
so versatile when it comes to guitar, whether he wants to go really heavy, uh, darn near acoustic. And I mean, he can just really play the whole genre if he wants to.
Well, and even like
Like
he
you
can
said,
do like some like light sounding stuff,
oh, yeah.
and then he can kind of like make some like dark sounding stuff too. And it's like, oh man, that's really good that he can like go, up and down
Very
wherever,
versatile.
very
Absolutely.
versatile. Yes, yes. Speaking of versatile, how about this Mr. Gillespie's drumming
Huh? Who?
drumming
Never heard of the
work?
guy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Huh.
This man, it always like blows my mind, his just like listening to his drum style. And I've watched a couple of videos before too of like him being a drum teacher. and just some of like this, like the simple patterns he's getting some of the kids to, practice on. It's just like, dude, I probably couldn't even keep up with that. And it's just so unique. um he just hits so freaking hard on those drums. And we talked about it before. There was, in the original episode, we said there was a point where he had to have surgery on a finger because he busted it wide open, didn't take care of it, and ended up getting infected just from drumming so hard, man. But how much of an impact have you heard from Aaron Gillespie? Not even really just drums, but even like vocally too.
Definitely a driving force here in Underoath. I mean, just the fact that drumming and vocalizing at the same time, other than grunts
Oh,
of that's hard enough as it is.
right.
And then he does it really well. And like you said, his drum patterns aren't exactly like the easiest things.
No, it's
It's
crazy.
he's got a style, and while he's doing that, he's able to sing and kind of sing song pretty kind of singing. It's not just grunting and ugga duggas. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
it's
amazing,
pretty
man.
amazing. It really is. His talent has always amazed me.
Yeah. You and I both like Dallas Taylor, whether it was, in Under Oath or in Maylene. But man, the one that put them over the top was Spencer Chamberlain. And, you know, it's just, I don't know, man, it's just so good. It's just so good. And he really kind of comes in, on Chasing Safety, and it's still raw, and he really starts to find his voice, I feel like, on Define the Grand Line. Oh, there I go.
Mhm.
There I go, man. Define the
Woo,
Grand
woo.
Line. Define the Great Line. Um, and then by the point we get to disambiguation, obviously Aaron's gone by that point, but you saw some hints in Define the Great Line and Lost in Sound of Separation, where he's starting to kind of take some control of some lyrics and putting his feelings out there and everything. But just like vocally, though, oh man, like how much of an impact do you think he's had on the van?
Quite a bit. I mean, he is pretty darn good, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
He's got a good range. It's not super like monotone where it's just, mids all day long. And then again, it's not like just lows all day long. He's got the whole spectrum. And it's not whiny when he gets up high either, which a lot of bands suffer from. You get high and it's like whiny and it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sad
yeah.
today. And it gets old real fast. But anyway, they don't
Yeah.
suffer from that. Spencer does not put that. He puts it. He's got some air behind it. It's not like hollow or anything like that. He puts some oomph behind it. It's not the subhuman cries of a large gorilla or anything, but
We're never gonna be able to get rid of
it's
that,
good.
are we?
No, absolutely not. That's one of our new things.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's just like a few different guys. I mean, it's obviously it's a whole, but man, those four are definitely the ones that I think about the most, of like, gosh, man, like what would it be without, you know, Chris Dudley in there for the whole time? Or if they didn't, bring Spencer Chamberlain there, they brought somebody else in, or whatever. Man, it's just crazy to think, like, I don't think Underoath would have been, they may still have been a band, but they probably wouldn't have been, up there
Right.
with all those
Not
different
only are they
pieces.
like they're like the top in their type of genre, they've had
Mm.
so many spin-off bands that, want to be
Oh,
them.
yeah, exactly. So many people get
And
compared to
they've
them.
spun almost like a subgenre on top
Mhm.
of, just being who they are.
Right,
So whatever you want to call that genre, the Christian-esque kind of post-hardcore-ish,
right.
whatever. But
Yeah.
like I said, they've started their own thing basically, and these four guys really, defined it.
And they never looked back. They defined that grand line. You're a
Oh,
grand
absolutely.
old line. All right. So let's talk about the three different eras. When you're looking at the band's history, I really feel like there's three different eras you can break it down into. So obviously I want to hear your thoughts, musically, lyrically, etc., about, each individual era. as we get to them. So obviously, let's start with number one because one comes before two, right? And so on and so forth.
That's news to me.
So in this first era, which I'm going to name the Dallas Taylor led era here. It includes the albums Act of Depression, Cries of the Past, and The Changing of Times. Now, with Act of Depression, we mentioned just a little bit ago, there's no Chris Dudley, so there's kind of this hollow sound. Um, there's some strange sound clips in there. If you listen to the original, now if you're listening
Right.
to the one that's on Spotify that's reissue or whatever, I don't know what they're doing with that. I didn't listen to it. I went onto YouTube to listen to the old school version. There's a lot of strange little sound clips here and there. And then the one that got me the most originally listening to it was the what I like to call the director's commentary over the final song, Spirit of a Living God. I don't know if that's Dallas Taylor or who it is that's coming over the top of it, just like doing a little spoken part, but it really disturbed me the first time I listened to it. I was like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? But anyway, there's that with Active Depression, Cries of the Past. You get the beginnings of Chris Dudley's ambient sounds and soundscapes and such. And then obviously Changing the Times is really that first little taste of what Underoath is going to start to sound like here in the future. So I'm going to open up the floor to you, Eric. Talk to me about these three albums in the first era of Underoath.
Definitely interesting little era here. I was absolutely unaware that the first two albums existed. I
Really?
honestly
Okay.
thought it started with Changing of Times. I really
Really?
did.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I
I remember the first
apparently not
time.
a super fan like I thought I was.
Yeah, I remember the first time discovering those two albums, Active Depression and Cries of the Past, long, long time ago. And I was on like the Wikipedia page for it, and I got over to them. I was like, "Oh, I never heard of these ones." And I was looking at them, and the genre description was like black metal. I was like, "Underoath, black metal, what?"
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, they are getting close to that black metal, death metal esque sound
yeah,
they got
yeah.
going
It
there.
starts somewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's overall not a bad sound, but I think Josh said it pretty well in the first, the original episode.
Mm.
If that's what you're here for, you like these two, these guys are still young and raw at this. You're probably not going to stick around for the rest of it.
Yeah, I was about to
Honestly,
say this
it's
is probably
probably
when you get
not
off
your
the
thing.
train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That third album, Changing of Times, like you said, 100%. This is where they really start finding their sound.
Mm.
Uh, oh, another note I had here is Josh said the first two are pretty interchangeable. It almost is hard to tell where one starts, one ends, all
True.
that good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, other than like you said, it kind of fills the hollow sound, but you're going, it's not like in your face, like, oh, those are keys. Absolutely. It's just
Right.
like maybe they mixed it better. I don't know. It just when you're listening to it, it's a little mushy as far as where's one, where's the other.
Right.
Take one song
Yeah.
off of one, put it on the other, and it kind of just fits.
Right.
So definitely, I like Changing of Times a lot. Sun Still Sleeps, or The Sun Sleeps, I guess, is the name of the song. I don't know. Anyway, that's always been one of my favorites. I really enjoy that song.
Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, it's an interesting little era. I mean, like you said, you got to start somewhere, right? Everybody has a beginning.
Right.
We mentioned
Right.
it before. We talked about I can't remember what the phrase is that me and Josh have used for like that first album from a band. It's kind of like we're working through it, we're trying to figure it out, album or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of that
Working it out.
grace period. Yeah,
Something like
working
that.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. So okay, so this second era starts here, Eric, with the departure of Dallas Taylor. Now, some people a lot of people were hurt by that. I think that a lot of people really love Dallas Taylor in Underoath, and it's kind of like the same thing with Josh Scoggin in Norma Jean. It's like he leaves and you're like, oh, this is terrible. But it's like in reality, yeah, it sucks. But one band becomes two now because now we're getting Maylin and Sun Disaster and the Underoath that is going to come along with the Spencer Chamberlain era. which is what we're entering into now. So obviously Spencer Chamberlain comes in, the lineup is solidified. Now you got Grant on bass and I can't remember the other guy on guitar coming in. That's going to be your six main guys that are there through Aaron's departure in um, right before disambiguation. Then obviously, they all come back, so on and so forth. But in this era, you're getting, these great albums of They're Only Chasing Safety, Define the Great Line, Lost in the Sound of Separation, which, Lost in the Sound of Separation, we talked about it in the original episode. It seemed like it kind of lost some fans there. And I told Josh, I feel like maybe that rougher production sound, and he described sometimes too as it sounding kind of hollow. And I think that was on purpose, to be honest with you. Maybe get your opinion on that here in a moment. But I always liked Lost in the Sound of Separation. And then you pick it back up with full-fledged just Spencer Chamberlain vocals on Disambiguation, which really dives into the darkness. You start getting some of that on Define the Great Line and Lost in the Sound of Separation, but it feels like Disambiguation comes around and it's just like full, diving headfirst into that darkness, man. And it's got some thick sounds, man. Musically and such, and they go along with his vocals too. And Josh talked about, where you're going from in this era of They're Only Chasing Safety to Disambiguation. He said it really felt like to him that they were building towards a sound that they ended up getting to on Disambiguation. So I might want to get your opinion on that too. But in your opinion, overall, how monumental is this era of Underoath?
You didn't need to correct yourself. This is my era. I love this era. But as a whole, this whole era kicked off a whole pack of spin-off bands.
Oh,
like I said, subgenre all in its own. It really kicked off because of this era. Sound of let's see here. Define the Great Line. I think that's really what sucked me in to begin with. Sound of Separation definitely has some seriously good ones. Too Bright to See, Too Loud to Hear.
Oh, so good.
A few others, of course. That Good God, Can You Still Get It?
Yeah.
So that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I remember, windows open on my old truck, riding down the side of the road, absolutely screaming that because I was having me a good time.
No, seriously, I want to get home. Please help me.
Yeah, this old truck, it may not make it, but
it may not make it.
But yeah, I always loved that. And some of the coolest song names I've ever heard in my life. Anyone Can Dig a Hole, but it takes a real man to call it home. I love that. The song is good too, but that is a fantastic name for a song.
Right.
Disambiguation is pretty good. That's about the time when I started kind of moving away from Underoath, not necessarily because of sound or anything, just kind of fell off my radar, I guess.
I was very
looking back on it, it's actually not bad. I'm kind of enjoying it, but I've got to get my my old feelings of, well, I just quit after, Sound of Separation. I got to get those feelings out of there.
Yeah.
And go back and actually listen to it a little bit more because I've been enjoying it a couple times over. I've listened through it, in their whole discography in line. I've been kind of enjoying it. As a whole, like you were saying, I do think what they were building to was disambiguation.
Yeah.
It is kind of the culmination of all their sounds and kind of heading that darker direction a lot of time. And like you said, it kind of is that. I wouldn't say it's their peak, but it's kind of what they were heading towards from all these others. Now, going from where I started to right before that, when COVID really hit, I went back and I I really dug into Chasing Safety. And from the album cover artwork to the lyrics, to some of the song names like Impact of Reason, It's Dangerous Business Walking Out Your Front Door, and I'm not feeling very receptive today. It really fit how I was feeling about the world right about then. You know, all we're doing is chasing safety.
Right.
I'm not feeling very receptive today. 6 feet, please.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
what
personal
was the other one
space.
there? Dangerous
Impact
walking
to
out your front
reason.
door.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the whole reason thing. But anyway, I digress from that.
Yeah.
But
No, I get it.
anyway,
Yeah.
I really, really got into that album during COVID, not just because of that, but I found myself really enjoying that sound too. So anyway,
I remember
kind of
being super hesitant going into disambiguation just because, like, at the time, I always felt like Aaron was like the head of Underoath, you know? And so losing him, it was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to like this, man, you know?
that may have been what kind of full stop on, don't need that
Right.
anymore, I guess. I
Well,
don't
and
remember.
yeah,
I
and
don't know
I
if it
bought
just
the
fell off and I
album.
had other stuff or what, but
Yeah, I bought the album and I was very happy that I did. I think I still have it somewhere around here. But it, I think looking back now is like my apprehension was really dumb because like I feel like Aaron's a good part of Under Oath, but it's like by the time you get to Lost in the Sound, the head of Under Oath is really Spencer Chamberlain, because again, it's like he's starting to take over more of the lyrics and just overall. I mean, you're hearing more. It's hard to tell sometimes, but you're hearing more of his clean vocals on starting on Define. And it starts
mhm.
blending more and more until, now he's just doing vocals across the board and just ambiguation by himself because Aaron's not there anymore. And so he really took charge with that. But um yeah, it's just such a good era, man. And you're right, this era really inspired just a huge crop of bands. I mean, there's so many bands that we've covered in History of the Cores that have mentioned influences, from Under Oath. Reviews have talked about, well, it sounds like Under Oath. No, there's just so much connection to that band, and it just proves how good this era was for them. You know,
Mhm.
and it's unfortunate that they continue. It's, in my
Maybe a
opinion.
little.
And you know what's even crazier though, Eric? And I didn't realize this until doing the original episode. Before they, so when Spencer got into the band and before they recorded They're Only Chasing Safety, they almost changed their name. They almost went by a different name than Under Oath. And I feel like it was for the best that they did because Under Oath is just such a good name, you know?
Mhm.
You just don't think about that. Um, yeah, again, kind of like the member thing earlier. It's like, if you everything just seems so integral, these little details that have just led to this point of just being monumental for them. Whether it's names, whether it's members, song titles, the music, lyrics, the album artwork, just overall across the board. Yeah. Alrighty, Eric. How about a little trivia question for you, buddy? You ready?
Oh, I was hoping we forgot, but all right, let's have it.
Let's blend two bands here together that we both like. What song from the band Norma Jean's Redeemer album did Under Oath guitarist Timothy McTagg contribute songwriting to?
Hmm. You know, if I would have listened more closely to the original podcast, I would know this.
You would know this fun fact.
I do remember you and Josh talking about it
Mhm.
from Redeemer. And I don't want to look at the song title list because that'll probably give me
To give you a
the.
vibe, maybe.
Well, no, it would give me the, you know, underneath who helped or, whatever,
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you
writing
went on to
credits and whatnot.
Wikipedia, I think it says his name on the writing credits. But
Let me pull up Spotify just to get a song list title in my
okay.
brain. Okay.
I know you got it. It's one of the well, I consider and say it's one of the better songs. That whole album's really good. What are you talking about, Curtis?
Oh
Yeah.
man, that whole album is such a good album.
Yep, yep, yep.
Da, 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 da.
Throw out a name.
Okay, let's see. I'll go with I don't know which. They're all good songs. My goodness. We'll go with. I keep bouncing between a couple.
Okay.
Um, I'm probably wrong on both accounts, but I keep bouncing between Blueprints for Future Homes and Songs Sound Much Sadder. But
Its songs sound much sadder.
okay, that's what I kept going to. But I
Mhm.
was like,
Yeah.
Blueprints is so good.
Trust
I don't know.
no, it's a good one, but trust your instinct, buddy. Trust your
Yeah,
instinct
yeah,
there. Yep. Yeah, he did work on songs sound much sadder. So I always found that
okay.
interesting.
That
But
is
yeah.
interesting.
All right, Eric, I got a warning for you, buddy. I want you
Uh
to heed the anthology singles warnings, okay?
oh.
Anthology album is basically a greatest hits album from Underoath if you're not familiar, but there are two singles that start out the album, Sunburnt and Unsound. What's just real quick, kind of give me your opinion on those two songs. You've heard them though, right?
I don't know if I actually have. I just saw
Oh,
that they were
okay.
anthologies.
Yeah.
I am ill prepared. Oh
You
man.
might, well, no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, well, we can talk about it a different time, but I'm just giving you the warning now. They're not terrible in my opinion, but it
Hmm.
feels like they're trending us in the direction that Underoath's eventually going here. But this is the third era now that we're going to talk about the third and final era. Well, the third and current era, I should say. Um,
Probably final.
yeah, well, past due, if in my opinion, past due. A quote unquote rebirth occurs in this era, Eric, in the form of a more mainstream arena core sound, which so far has produced two albums, Erase Me and Voyeurist. This, let's go back here for, well, let's go ahead back here for a second. Remember when I said that they almost changed their name before they're only chasing safety? Now would be the time you could change your name. Now
Yeah.
would be the time.
Yeah.
This
All
to
these
me,
guys
it's
have a
a
big enough following. All these guys have a
yeah,
big enough name now. Just, make a new name, call yourself the super group,
right,
whatever name you want to have. I mean, because all these guys are big names in the industry at this point. Anybody would pick them
right,
up. So,
exactly. Yep,
yeah, I
yep,
agree.
yeah. Prime example of a band who should have changed their name. It's and just start over. Just too big of a sound change, and the image too. It's not even just sound; it's the image.
Yeah. I think
You
the image
know,
is the bigger part of it for me.
right. So I take all that together and I come up with the with the answer of this is a 1,000,000% cash grab. If there ever was one, in my opinion, I think this is the cash grab. Do you not agree?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just gosh, man. Give me a little more thought about what you think on these two new albums, Eric, and the direction that they're heading.
My note on this one says almost a complete skip. Just
Yeah,
two albums. Yeah.
yeah,
Not
yeah, yeah.
much is terribly redeemable. Uh,
No,
off
no, no.
of, let's see, what album was that? Oh, from Erase Me, we've got Rapture and Motion, In Motion, that is. Those are okay, slightly redeemable, but mm, not enough to bring the whole album up to. And those are just because they're kind of catchy, I think, is the only reason I really liked them even then at
Right. I
all.
was supposed to say that's yeah, they do have catchiness to them. I will give them that, which is
But
the
that's
radio
about
part.
it. Yeah, yeah. But eh, I don't know. Like, let's see. There's a lot more cussing. like I said, the image change, and it really feels. You and Josh talked about it. It feels
Yeah.
forced or even
Yes.
childish.
Yes.
Like I'm 13 and I can say the F word if I wanna.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm feeling right now. Like, okay, cool, guys. Yeah, you're big and bad. Good
Yeah.
job.
Well, you and I have talked about it before of like if I can listen to a band and I can listen to a song and they cuss in it, whatever. One time I'm like, man, I can think about like 20 other words you probably could have used. I mean, it just doesn't feel natural. It just doesn't feel like you have emotion with it. It feels like you said, it's like, I'm finally free. I can say these things, I can use all these cuss words all I want. So I'm gonna go, bang, 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 whatever.
Right. Fire them off.
And it's just like, yeah, it just becomes like, this is cringy, man. Yeah, it's just
Well, the example I always give is census fail.
mm,
Census fail started out, day one. I mean, they're not F bombing every single song, but they do cuss quite a bit throughout their, you know,
discography.
discography and
Yeah.
whatnot. I mean, going from, Lady in a Blue Dress, that's pretty cussy song. Stuff like that. I mean, those are pretty early ones on in there, all the way from the start, all the way to now. And
Right.
what they do when they cuss in with them in particular, I feel the emotion.
Hmm.
Like there's no other word that they could use because this word is so strong and so powerful that I can't replace it with anything else because this is the depth of my emotion that I feel right now. And that's
Right.
what Census Fail does right. Now, whether you like Census Fail or not, for people out
Right.
there,
Yeah.
it's whatever, but that's one thing I feel like they do 100% right. Now, that being said, just let's drop an F bomb because I can. Okay, cool. Are you 13? 14 maybe?
it's,
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
it's the cool thing to do, man.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is childish and it's not very good for the art, the poetry of it, in my opinion. So,
Yeah. Can we
if it's
both
not the
agree?
only word, if it is not the only word that can get you and your feelings across, try something else. Like I said, it just
Yeah.
ends up making you sound childish.
Right. Yeah. Can we both agree that when they decided to go on, well, I think they just said they were breaking up after Disambiguous. I don't think they said, hey, we're going on hiatus. I think they said we're breaking up. Do we both agree that they should have stayed broken up?
Yeah, that probably would
It's
have been for
just,
the best.
man, at a certain point, you just got to say, like, that part of my life is done. If we're going to do something again, it's like, we're going to do something different under a new name. you
Right.
know I feel like it almost like taints it for me. It's like it's like, and I
Right.
don't want to say it ruins Underoath because I still listen to old Underoath pretty heavily. It's heavy in the rotation, but man, it just like it's a black spot to me on their discography. It's like
Right. I
what
think
I mean,
what
could just
my
left
end
it
note
alone,
there,
man.
my end note there says that basically these two albums are remarkably meh.
Yeah.
It's just
Meh.
there's not really anything great about them. They don't grab me and shake me like Chasing Safety does. They don't slap me in the face like Define does. I mean, you know, all those other albums, they really
Yeah.
grab me. They hook me somehow, some way. These ones never do it for me. It's
Yeah,
just
I agree.
I don't know if it's the arena core feel or if it's I don't know. Uh, but it just meh,
Meh. That's what we think. Meh. Third era. Meh.
remarkably
Well,
meh.
mm, yeah. Unfortunately, there's no end in sight. So I don't know.
I thought that was
We'll
another
see.
band. Yeah, I thought that was Foreigner.
Oh my! Shots fired. Well,
Yeah, no end in
that's
sight. That was a Foreigner album.
that's that's all three eras. Like I said, for now, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's wrap up this episode, Eric, with our usual your favorites: albums, songs, lyrics, riffs, artwork, so on and so forth. Take it away, Eric.
Oh, I'm taking it now. Oh,
Oh yeah,
oh,
you're taking it away.
Okay.
Hence,
Well,
take it away.
how about we down, set, go to start with from
Okay.
Chasing Safety. Here's some lyrics
Okay.
for you. I had the whole world in my hands, but I gave it away. Gave it away. I'm a half-wit boy, cracking a smile, wearing it all on my sleeve. So cool, so poised. It's true. I'm just around to see. Where this thing goes, I'll never know. Mm, so good.
So good.
So good.
So good. Very nice.
And then this one is from Emergency Broadcast, Sound of Separation. Our hopes and dreams will be swallowed alive. We always said it wouldn't end up like this. Our hopes and dreams will be swallowed alive. We will be the new ice age. We will be the new plague.
Mhm. Oh my gosh,
I
they're
don't know.
prophets.
That one was interesting because I was like, the way I felt about them and Chasing Safety going back during COVID, I was like, oh,
Still
whether
relevant in 2020.
prophetic or not, I don't know. Ooh. But anyway, let's see here. Favorite album. Yes, favorite albums. So that whole middle section, I could just say that basically. But right now, as I've kind of alluded to a couple times, Chasing Safety is the one I keep going back for more.
Okay.
That's probably my one. It is a really close fight. I mean, it's really, really tight. But not a skip, not a low spot. Closest thing on that would be like Blue Note. But really, it almost feels like a transition
It's only
to the
because
B
it's a
side or
transition
something.
song. Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Yeah, it's there to go to the next one,
Right.
and it does. And even then, it doesn't get skipped usually for me. So
Yeah. Oh, you got to play it, bro. You got to play that. You got to hear the
it's
countdown
part of it.
going into Dangerous Business. How
Three,
you going to
two,
know when the
one,
song starts,
boom.
man? Yeah, boom. The lady helped you out.
Very nice of her.
Very nice. Very nice.
All right. So favorite songs, and before we start our countdown, I did just kind of pick one from my top 3 albums. So because this has been one of these bands I've listened to forever and a day.
Right.
And my favorites do shift now and again, but these are 3 that I go back to time and again because they are on my 3 favorite albums, probably. So
Okay.
anyway, number 3
Number 3
is Desperate Times, Desperate Measures from Sound of Separation.
Nice. Very nice.
And then number 2
Number 2
is from Define the Great Line. Are you ready? Can you guess which one it is?
Oh, writing on the walls.
Regards to Myself. Very close. Very
Ooh,
close.
okay.
That actually,
I
Writing on the
don't.
Walls is pretty close second, honestly.
Okay, if I had a gun to my head, because Define the Great Line is my favorite album. If I had a gun to my head and I had to pick a song from that being my number one, it's probably going to be Casting Such a Thin Shadow.
That is a good one too,
Oh,
though. Oh.
they could have made a good post rock band. Maybe that's what they should have done.
Yeah, after they come back from disambiguation, they should have just done post rock.
Just done post rock, bro. You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. So the last one, I bet you can guess what album it's from. Chasing Safety.
Number
Oh,
one.
wow, right? Is Down, Set, Go.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I
Wasn't
really
expecting
enjoy
that
that
one,
one.
but all right. Okay.
I enjoy the crap
Nice.
out of that one. That one's a good song.
Yeah.
So there's the
Man.
top for me. Desperate Time, Desperate Measures for 3. 2 is Regards to Myself, and 1's Down, Set, Go. If you didn't catch all that, because I know I talk a lot.
I think
That's why I'm on a podcast.
So I said this on the original episode. Define obviously is my favorite, but Chasing Safety is, I mean, it's minute close, second close, or second place. If I had a gun to my head again, because just same thing with Define the Great Line. There's not a bad song on here, but if I had a gun to my head and I had to pick, personally, it's probably, oh gosh, man, it's probably either young and aspiring or I don't feel
Mm.
very receptive today. The on receptive today, just the way that it's like they back off and they just let Spencer just go all out, and then Aaron just focuses solely on his drumming. Oh, it's so good, man, so good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. All righty. Well, you got through it all right. Yeah, you didn't have anything
we did.
else. What's your favorite
Uh,
artwork? Is it Chasing Safety?
that is pretty sick. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Also, kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of Wires and Concept of Breathing
Mm.
from golly. How about that brain fart? It's pretty sweet.
Is
Uh,
Pierce the Veil?
no,
Skylar
um,
Drive?
Skylit Drive. Yep, yep,
There you
yep.
go. Yeah. I see. I always get those two mixed up name wise. Name wise.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
But well, as my last little bit, if you have found yourself under a rock for the better part of 2 decades, you should give this
This
band a
is
shot.
PSA. Yeah. I agree,
Yeah,
man.
so this is a little PSA for
Agreed.
you. And if you didn't know, actually, they're going on a 20th anniversary tour of Chasing Safety right now.
Yeah. I don't know how I
They
feel about that.
just announced that.
Don't know how
This
I feel
okay,
about
but
that.
the interesting part on it is they're actually doing 2 sets, right? Get the two up
Okay.
here, 2 sets.
Oh, boy.
So they're bringing a little band with them, of course, but so they're doing the whole album, right? Chasing Safety.
Uh-huh.
And then they're going to do a different set that supposedly whoever's going to or bought a ticket or whatever gets to vote on.
Oh, like what the set
I don't know
list
how that's
is?
going to work yet. Right. So
Hmm.
whoever's going to that particular, so each set list is going to be different, voted on
Right.
by the fans of who's going to that one.
Right. Each town is
So if you
different.
go to the
Yeah.
Dallas show, it's going to be different than if you go to like the New Mexico show
Right.
because you voted on it from New Mexico or from Dallas or whatever. I think that's
Right.
pretty cool. I know they've done stuff like that in the past, as far as getting to vote on it, getting fan interaction,
Let's get fan
and
interaction.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay. I was really worried you're
I
going
dig
to
that. That's kind of
say,
cool. So,
I was really worried you're going to say they're doing two different sets. First one is they're doing a clean version of They're Only Chasing Safety. And then the second one is After Hours, where they just do like full blown dirty dark, like we're just going to add all these cuss words to it. And it's like, what? What? Yeah, I was really afraid where that was going for a second there, but I like that better.
yeah,
So
I
that's
saw that
cool.
and I was like, that's actually pretty cool. So they just literally
Mm.
announced that. I think that was last week too. So
I wonder if there's any
pretty cool.
songs like they're like, these are off limits. Do not vote for these songs.
I guess we'll have to find the Twitter post or something. Find that one.
I guess, yeah. Alrighty. Chasing Safety is your entry point, right?
I'd say so. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
as much as I like Dallas Taylor era, that at least the last one anyway, for sure. Yeah, it's not for everybody, and I know that.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you want to like know the real Underoath, it's you're gonna have to start at Chasing Safety. And then once you get through all of that, then you can go back and hear what it used to sound like or what
Right.
the lead up to Chasing Safety. At least musically, I mean, it transitions over some, but obviously vocals are different. But yeah. Well, alrighty.
Yeah.
Let's get on out of here, Eric. Make sure to
All
follow us
right.
on Twitter at Is Survive by Pro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows as well. We have the History of the Cores podcast from me and Josh. Take a look at a band from the core genre, the history, the discography, the fun facts. Stick around for the fun facts, man. You come for the discography, you stick around for the fun facts. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of the BBC/Netflix hit show, The Peaky Blinders. And sooner or later, we'll cover the movie whenever it comes out. And we also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1. Soon, very soon, to be season 2 of HBO's House of the Dragon. And currently in the off season, we are covering chapter by chapter of George R.R. Martin's Fire and blood. Blood! Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived by Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel and thumbs up the video. Like that, it's just... Yeah. Alrighty, until the next episode, we'll see you.